Jason Jones with the City Salt. We're here with Chandler Beavers today. He's a mandolin player. He just released a solo album last year called 409. He also plays with Colby T. Helms and the Virginia Creepers. Chandler, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So 409 came out last year. Where did you get the title of that? Is that a train time or what is that?
No, that's actually the time that my kid was born. He was born at 4:09 in the afternoon, so we were searching for album titles and came across that, and it kind of stuck out as a good one.
Very cool. I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny that I didn't realize it until after the album was out for weeks and weeks, and someone was like, that's a popular household cleaner.
Oh yeah, that's
409
true.
Cleaner, and I was like, no, I didn't think about that, but thanks for bringing it up.
So not cleaner related.
No, not cleaner related.
That's funny. I had an interesting question. So most of your songs on that album and in general, I think, are instrumentals, no vocals involved.
Correct.
How do you come up with the song titles? Does that come first before the song or after?
No, definitely comes after. When I'm in the studio and recording, you name the tracks that you're doing, and we usually just go track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at the end of the project, I'll go back through and try to come up with song titles that might make sense for the vibe of the song, and then sometimes it just doesn't, which is probably true for a lot of instrumental music that's out there.
Sure. And are you like putting together a thematic album when you're putting together different songs, or how are you picking and choosing? Because I know you have different players on each song as well.
Yeah, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. The last album, which seemed to work out well, seemed like I had a collection of songs that flowed together, and I don't know if you call it a theme, but they seem to all work together. There's even some songs on the record that flow into the next. There's no skips in between the songs; they just flow directly into the next one. So that might have just been luck, having that. But it's hard to come up with a pure theme when it's just instrumental.
What did you learn between? Because if you go on Spotify, you see the experimental sessions, which is album-like, I guess you've said before, but you did that in 2016, so 7-year gap between the two projects.
Yeah, because at the time I recorded that, which wasn't recorded in a studio at all. I used to live in an apartment building, and wasn't really working a whole lot at the time, so I had a lot of time to just sit around and play music. But I had what they call, I think it's a Tascam Porta Studio, which kind of means you can just take it with you. But there was no laptop required or anything like that. You just recorded straight onto it. And so I would just sit around and make music, and maybe start with a piano track or a mandolin track or guitar track, and then just kind of literally experiment with sounds until that came together, which is... It's a funny project to look back at, but it's
cool. It's all you on there, no other.
Yeah, there's no guest at all on that album. Every single sound that's on there is me playing.
Interesting.
Yeah, whether it's keyboard or guitar or whatever it is.
How many different instruments made that?
Well, I think mainly I had a mandolin, a guitar, a bass, and a keyboard. But the keyboard had like MIDI controls on it to where I could make it sound like different instruments, like an organ sound or regular keyboard. Even I think a fiddle, had some different things on there. So literally experimented, with sounds to make that project.
Nice. So you're known nowadays as a mandolin player primarily, but obviously you play lots of instruments. Yeah. Where did you start playing music? What was your first instrument?
I think right around the time I was 10, my parents moved into a new house in Princeton, West Virginia. And our landlord, which lived next door to that house, was in a bluegrass band.
Okay.
And to that point, I'd never listened to bluegrass music whatsoever. My father was, if I remember correctly, he might be mad at me for saying this, but he was mainly like a hip-hop head. Maybe rock, Pearl Jam, stuff like that. And then hip-hop, no bluegrass at all. So the landlord brought over one of his CDs, and he was like, check this out, it's my band. And maybe 6 months later, I had a mandolin in my hand.
Wow.
There was an organization there in that town that helped young musicians that wanted to get started they gave them instruments, so I got like a grant to get a mandolin. So they gave me my first mandolin.
Really cool.
And been playing ever since then.
Wow, that's a cool story. And so mandolin was your first instrument.
Yep.
Where did you pick up the other ones along the way?
I think just kind of, I don't. It might not be true for everybody, but it seems like bluegrass musicians, whether they start on one instrument or another, kind of flow over into picking up other instruments. So just kind of being around everything, and I mainly just play mandolin and guitar, maybe a little bit of bass. That's about it.
Yeah. And so you're in the Virginia Creepers, Colby T. Helms band. You play mandolin in that band. What's that experience been like with Colby releasing his first album and booking some big shows?
It's literally been incredible. Colby's an amazing human. I was worried a little bit when I first met up with him and started playing with him, because we're definitely different people. We come from different backgrounds. I listen to different music than Colby does, but the thing that's so cool and so great about Colby is he's just so understanding, and of people from different backgrounds, and he realizes that we all just care about the music, and it doesn't bother him that maybe we dress a little different or listen to different music, but when it comes down to it, we all we love music, and that's what we're there to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What brought that combination together so that you ended up in his band? How did you all meet?
We have a mutual friend, John, that actually used to play a little bass with Colby. I knew from some mutual friends, and I'd been telling John for forever. I remember the night that I found Colby on YouTube. I think I was just on there scrolling for music and came across Colby, and I just instantly knew. I was like, man, I want to play music with that kid. Like,
that's awesome.
It's different. He's got his own style. You can tell it's organic and original.
Yeah.
So, and eventually, I don't know what really transpired to it, but I guess John said, hey, you should give this guy a try. And the first night I ever met Colby in my entire life was a gig with them at 5 Points.
Okay.
Sold out for Tyler's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So
cool.
the first notes of music we ever played was in 5 Points here in Roanoke.
Oh, wow.
And it just kind of meshed, right there. It was, and it was been going ever since.
I didn't know it had only been that short amount of time.
Yeah, so it's been just over a year. That's true. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And what about Adam Cecil? How's it been getting to know Adam and playing with him?
Just the same.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a good human, and it's the same with him. We come from different backgrounds. We probably listen and like different music, but it just seems like we all mesh together. We're all we have fun. There's no stress, and it's always a good time.
Absolutely. So 3 of you have been on the road a little bit.
Yeah.
Lately.
Yeah, definitely, and it's getting busier. Colby's picked up quite a few gigs that we've been traveling around to, and I think the summer and fall is going to be even busier. So
cool. What's been the most memorable show so far?
That's a good question. I mean, we've played some really cool shows in the short amount of time.
Yeah.
That I've been with Colby. I'm trying to think the most memorable show that we've played. We've opened up for some really cool acts: Larry Keel, Traveling McCurry's. We played Warren Haynes' Christmas Jam in Nashville,
very cool.
A couple weeks ago, which was really fun. They've all been great. I don't know if I could pick one out right off the top
Those are
of
some
my head.
really high-end gigs.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast.
Very cool. And so going back to your band, besides Colby and Adam that I know, you also play with John Colby Elswick, who's from the Kind Thieves, right? He's on one of your albums.
Yeah, he's on one of the songs on my last album. I've known him for quite a while.
Yeah.
The Kind Thieves, the band that he's in, originated pretty close to where I grew up at in West Virginia. So I've known a lot of those guys for quite a while. All good dudes,
Awesome.
put on a good show.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us what part of West Virginia you actually grew up in and where you're at now and what that music scene is like out there.
I grew up in Princeton, West Virginia.
Okay.
Which is right there near Bluefield, right there on the Virginia border.
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because I live on another Virginia border now. But went to high school there, went to college in Bluefield.
Okay.
And then when I graduated college, I had some friends in the town that I live in now, which is White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, which is right there beside Covington,
Right.
Virginia. So I've been living there ever since 2014 or 2013. I can't remember the exact year.
Okay.
The music scene in Princeton where I grew up was more old time, traditional bluegrass music. To be honest, not much of a scene. There's not too many venues or stuff going on down there. And then in White Sulphur, where I live at now, the music scene's kind of coming up a little bit more. Right there near Lewisburg, which has quite a few cool venues in downtown. The music scene's definitely more. There's more variety.
Yeah.
In Lewisburg and White Sulphur, whether it be rock music or bluegrass, old time, there's a little bit of everything for you there.
That's where they did the Healing Appalachia.
Correct. Festival. They have that there every year. Yeah, it's a great time, great
Huge
festival.
turnout. Yeah.
Yeah, it does well every year, and probably a lot of that's to do with Tyler Childers.
Sure.
That has some big parties played every Healing Appalachia, and I figure will continue to do so.
Yeah, I hope
he lived in Lewisburg.
Oh, I didn't know
for
that.
quite a while. Yeah,
very cool.
Sure enough, yeah. Well, we actually worked not at the same time, but I worked at the same brewery that he worked at once upon a time. So small world. Yeah, I moved there right after I think he left. I think he left and I came in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, very big shoes to fill.
Yeah, probably not going to happen there.
So you had a couple other guys on the album, Jeremy Garrett with Infamous String Dusters. How did you end up having him on your play songs with you on the album?
Funny, a little bit of a funny story. So the String Dusters have been my favorite bluegrass band ever since I first heard them. I've probably been to 60, 70 String Duster shows. Me and my wife, back before we had our kid, used to travel around, 4 or 5 days in a row and just go watch the String Dusters. But
Sweet.
I was looking for a fiddle player to be on the record. And we were just sitting on the couch one night, and she could tell I was a little frustrated because I was, having a hard time really finding someone that fit, the vibe of the record.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, why? Because me and Jeremy were friends on Facebook before this, and she was like, why don't you just message Jeremy and see if he'd be interested in doing it? And I was like, babe, there's no way that Jeremy Garrett's gonna want to play on my record. But I think the next day I was just like, what the hell? I'll try it out. And I shot him a message on Facebook, and maybe 30 minutes later he was like, yeah, man, let's do it.
Awesome.
That's basically how that ended up happening. How
did you do the recording with him once he agreed to it?
Well, the record 409 is kind of an anomaly because every track on that record just started out with me and a mandolin. Because I recorded it in Beckley, West Virginia with Robbie Lanham that runs Monarch Entertainment.
Okay.
And maybe there's 20 guests on that record, I think. And I think only 2 of them made it into the studio with me.
Okay.
So I would just, record the demo track, record the guitar and the bass on it myself, and then send it off to artists for them to cut it at their home studio or a studio near them. So that's what I did, just sent him tracks, and he's got a home studio at home that he just cut them on.
That's a cool process.
Yeah, and you can tell he's a pro because I sent him 3 tracks, and I think maybe 20 minutes later he sent me them back. He's like, I'm done.
Wow.
Perfect.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And Alex Berman from Dirty Grass Players is on there too. What's that connection? I think you told me they're from Baltimore.
Yeah. I've been listening to the Dirty Grass Players for quite a while. Their last record that they had put out, and I really liked his stuff. So it's kind of the same story. I just shot him a message and asked him if he'd be interested, and sure enough did, which I'm thankful for.
So I know you're working on a new album now. You've got the new single coming out next week. That's called Runaway Traveler, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And are you using a similar process to record right now?
Yeah, very much so. Just go in and start with just me and a mandolin, and then, like I said, maybe add the guitar and the bass on top of it the way it fills out a little bit, and then send it off to other people.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And can you give us any insight on who's going to be on the record yet, or is it going to be?
Yeah. Well, that single in particular, Trey Hensley, is playing the guitar on,
Cool.
which is a popular guitarist. Him and Rob Ikes go around and tour together. And then let's see who else is on that record. Gavin Largent from East Nashgrass plays dobro.
Okay.
He also plays with the Dan Tominski band.
Oh, okay.
And he's a Virginia boy. I can't remember the exact town that he's from, but and that came along because I got some just mutual friends of his. Got him on the record, and then Lars Swanson, which is a friend of mine that played on probably 5 or 6 of the tracks on the last album, playing the bass. And then Jeremiah Gilmer is playing the banjo.
Okay, cool.
On that track. As for more guests on the rest of the record, I'm still figuring some of that out.
Gotcha.
You'll see some familiar faces though that were on the first record, I'm sure.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. And going back real quick, that band that your previous landlord was in, what were they called?
Black Diamond.
Okay.
They had some coal mine references. I think a few of them, had worked in the mines for a little bit.
Okay.
So I think that's where that term came from. And they were really a fantastic bluegrass band. 2 brothers, Eddie and Don, that played banjo and mandolin. And then they had a bassist and a rhythm guitar player. But fantastic traditional bluegrass band.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about one song in particular I kind of alluded to earlier. I would be remiss not to bring him up. Wind Tunnel that John Colby also was on. Ryan Ratliff also plays, I think, saxophone on that track. Yeah. That's a really interesting take. How did you come up with that concept to have a horn on a mandolin track?
I didn't really. I recorded that track. Had John Colby play guitar on it, and Alex from Dirty Grass Players do the banjo on it, and it was done. That track was completely done, and I was listening to it, and it just felt like it was missing something. And I just got this wild hair. I was like, I wonder what a saxophone would sound like because it's in like the jam section of the song with the saxophone. Right. I was like, it can't hurt to at least see what it would sound like. So I messaged Ryan, and I was like, it might or might not work, but I was like, do you want to try, cutting some saxophone on this? And it's kind of the same thing. Like a few hours later, he sent me back a track and was like, do you think this will work? And that's the track you hear on the record. So that's perfect. Awesome. Yeah.
How did you get connected with Ryan on that?
That's also a good question. I think we basically just knew each other from, sadly, probably just the internet.
Yeah.
I think just Facebook and stuff like that. He lives here in Roanoke, and I'm just 2 hours away, so we got a bunch of mutual friends. So, and then I had him come up and play at the album release party.
Oh, cool.
And he's such a good guy. We were just going to have him come up for, 3 or 4 songs, for the show. And then before the show started, I was like, why don't you just sit in for the entire show? It'll be fine. And just crushed it.
Where did you do the album?
The Burrito Bar, which is in Fayetteville, West Virginia.
Very cool.
That's such a cool spot. And really anyone who's playing music has stopped through there at some point and played, whether it be Childers or Larry Keel or really any musicians came through there at some point. So it's a very cool spot. I recommend people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the only other thing I really wanted to ask you about is I know you've done some backup vocals. Can we expect any lead vocals, any lyrics on the new album coming out later this year?
It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible, maybe. 50-50.
All right.
Depends on what mood I'm in when that time comes along.
Well, I'm hoping we'll...
There is a demo track out there that does have some vocals on it of mine, but we'll see if it makes it.
I hope it'll make the cut.
Yeah, maybe.
And I was going to see, before we go, would you take us out on a song or two?
Yeah.
Play the new one if you want.
Yeah, for sure. I'll probably play one off the last record if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see, which one do I want to play though? In the town that I live in White Sulphur, we had a flood in 2016 that just wiped out the entire town.
Wow.
It was devastating. I think over 20 people died, and I mean just millions of dollars worth of damage to the entire town. And I kind of named the song after that. It's called Once in a Thousand. They said it was a once in a 1,000-year flood.
Wow.
So, and it kind of, without there being lyrics, it kind of tells, or I tried to tell a little bit of a story about the flood, I remember waking up that morning and it being rainy, but didn't look like a terrible day by any means. And then by 3 or 4 o'clock that afternoon, you know, the town was just getting destroyed. So
Unbelievable.
but yeah, so I kind of named the song after that. We were talking about song titles earlier, so but yeah, I'll play a little bit if that's okay.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Will you tell us about your mandolin while you've got it out?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So when I was getting back into music full time, which has not been long ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, I had a couple mandolins around the house, but none of them were professional quality or however you want to say it. So I got online and started to look for mandolins, and this was one of the first ones I came across. Walter Johnson built this mandolin. It's a June mandolin, and he actually lives in Whitfield,
Oh, very cool.
Virginia now. This mandolin was actually built when he lived in South Carolina.
Okay.
At one point, it was built in 2013 in May, and I actually just found it from a random seller online. I can't remember if it was Facebook Marketplace or the Mandolin Cafe has a website that people list and sell mandolins. But I've had it ever since. It looked a lot prettier when I first got it. I beat it to death. It's got all these scratches on it now and everything, but yeah, just a handmade mandolin out of his workshop there in his backyard, and it's done good. I love it. Yeah, it's a great mandolin.
Very cool.
I didn't have it in tune perfectly right there, but it's a good mandolin.
You said you took a break from playing music. What were you doing?
Yeah, so when I got out of college, I would sit around the house and play. So I don't know if break is maybe
right.
But I didn't play out with anybody. And then COVID hit, and I guess maybe I just got bored. the boredom set in, and I didn't have social media at all. No Facebook, no Instagram, and none of that. And another thing I can credit my wife for, she was like, well, if you want to, start playing with people, you need to network and, probably get on social media. So I did, and maybe a couple weeks later, met some guys and started playing in the bluegrass band. And then it just took off ever since then. So
that's really cool. Yeah. So you've got the new single coming out next week.
Yeah.
Where can we expect to hear that? And are you playing any solo shows in support of the album when it comes out?
You'll be able to hear the single everywhere, anywhere that the music is available on. It'll be there March the 8th. At midnight it'll come out. And solo shows, I really don't book solo shows very much anymore, but March 30th I'm playing in Dunbar, West Virginia, which is right near Charleston, the capital. Be playing there that night and with some good friends of mine, so looking forward to that.
Good deal. What's that venue?
It's called The Shop.
The Shop. Cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. They have a nice video team set up there, and they display the stage in the background on a screen and webcast it live on Facebook. So if you want to watch, check out The Shop on Facebook, and you'll be able to check it out.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks, Chandler. We'll look forward to the new music coming out.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.